Hi.
Hi, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Hi guys, I'm Brad, CG Super, fairly new if I haven't met you. Hi, John. Introductory ideas of new pipeline. I know that everybody's heard of us starting a new pipeline, and for the last year or so, I guess. So now it's coming to a point where actually everybody's starting to use it. So the concept is, as shows run on and they finish off, they'll be picking up and using the new pipeline into the new shows. So as the old shows finish off, everybody will be in the new pipeline. And eventually we'll be taking some of that stuff and backing it up and taking it offline, so there's no mix-up of things. But it would be a slow process of that. So some of the main shows that we'll be starting with are TWE, BRI, and MRL. And there's a few more that Ramin will explain a little bit more on then. There's some core changes that have taken place that Ramin will give more information on that, or actually both these guys will give information on that. But some of it, to access the information, is on Confluence or Wiki. So there's a new Wiki that we'll show you after as we go through this meeting. There's a new Jira setup, and Jira is tickets. For one of them is for Shotgun, and one of them is for PLE. So you have two places to look into. The core people who are managing those are Ramin and Edi. Some of the pieces of the core pipeline that will be changing are like directory structure, publishing mechanisms, and things like that. So that said, these meetings will continue over the next many months probably. Hopefully we're going to try and get this going every week on a more centralized, smaller group basis. Some would be leads, some of it would be sensitive to PLE, some of it would be production between these two guys in here. So on to the next step, which is pipeline. I'm sorry, Eddie is going to talk a little bit about Shotgun, about the new things that have been added. Go for it, Eddie.
By the way, DCs, can you make sure you're translating for anyone who needs translation? Pretty sure lots of people didn't understand what Brad just said, so make sure you're whispering in people's ears. All right, great, good. All right, so can you open up the Jira? So this is Jira. This is what you see when you open up the main page. The main button you'll be using is this one, Create. So from here you can actually create one for any of the Jiras. So this one you can select what Jira you're using. So if you want to make a ticket for Shotgun, you have to actually select Shotgun here. Shotgun. You see there's lots of different Jiras for all kinds of different people, including IT. Okay. So then it's pretty simple. You just need to give a summary of your problem. So just a quick one sentence, and then a more detailed description here. So maybe someone would like to suggest a title. Peter, why don't you write Shotgun Jira Introduction. Shotgun Jira Introduction. There you go. So then you go into the more detail and you start writing some stuff about your problem. And you can send messages directly to people if you type @. Oh, @. Yeah, that's it. And then type in the username. So then if you click on the list, and it comes up as this link, which means they'll receive an email. So if you need to draw someone's attention to something, obviously I'll get messages for everything, but if you need to draw someone's attention to this, this is quite useful. And you can also add pictures and things. I won't go into too much detail now, I'll just show you the basics. So this is basically how Jira works. So we're using this to keep track of all of the new changes we're making to Shotgun. One of the new policies we've got for shotgun is that we're not going to make any change until we've at least discussed it as a group, which involves me, Brad, Ramin, Nathan, Michelle from Xiamen to discuss the base animation stuff, Haojian, DJ sometimes, a few others, Jenna's involved as well. So we're just basically trying to get all of the main viewpoints covered. So you've got some people from production, people from technical side, you've got people from artist side, all kind of getting together to make a decision that hopefully solves everybody's problems. And the reason we're doing this as well is because in Shotgun 1, things were just kind of added as and when you need them, and there was no real kind of like unity between shotguns. One of the things we're trying to do with new Shotgun is make sure that you can switch from show to show, and you should already know how Shotgun is set up and how it functions. So there shouldn't be all of this, oh well in this show this status means this, but in this show we're using it for this. Everything should mean the same thing no matter where you go on Shotgun 2. So I'm not going to go into like all of the details about how Shotgun 1 and Shotgun 2 are different now because we don't have enough time. But basically what you need to know for this is if you want to follow what's going on for the changes that are being made to Shotgun, you should log into this page and go to projects, Shotgun. So this is a kind of like search view. If you click this view all in here, and then if you type in here 17.11.06, so this is today's date, and these are the things we talked about in today's Shotgun meeting. So if you want to keep up to date with what's happening day to day, like what things we're discussing, you can search for it by date. And obviously if something like this interests you, you can make comments, you can follow it as a watcher. It's just probably useful to click into one of these tabs, just like retake status. So we talked about this today. If this status is something that interests you, you can add yourself as a watcher here. Don't click that. Click it again. Click the number. There you go. So you can add yourself to this list. You see these 3 people are watching to get updates on this. That means anytime someone posts a comment or there's anything on this ticket, they get an email notification. So it's helpful for them to keep up to date with things they're interested in. All right, that's about it for Jira really. If you've got time or you're interested, take a look at all the tickets we've got going at the moment. There's a lot. There's more than 100 already. And I'm sure there'll be more after this meeting, because I'm sure you've all got lots of problems. Okay, so let's have a look at Shotgun next. So this is the main page, which obviously is the default. I haven't got around to setting that up yet. And if we go into a project, so the other thing is that I've set the default layout so that every single show will be the same. If you're on a different show, you'll notice that all of these things are the same. This layout is the same for this page. This is because we want not only for the data to be the same, but also the layouts to be the same so that you can kind of find things easier. You'll always know that if you click on a task, in this view, the task name will always be here. Your eye will always go here. It just will help you use it faster because everything is where you're expecting it to be, rather than someone accidentally saving a filter and then it's like that for the rest of the show because no one knows how to save it back. So there's a lot of things that you can't do on Shotgun 1, but if there's something that you feel like you need to be able to do and you currently can't, just send us a ticket on Jira, and we'll see if it's something that we want to be able to do or something we're not going to do. And usually if it's not something we're not going to do, it's because there's reasons for it, which I'll show. Alright, that's about it. That's Shotgun for now. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, we're going to have a big question period at the end. Maybe go ahead, one question.
Why we removed the summary sections on the default page on each show?
The overview thing? Yeah, because no one uses it. It has literally no information that you could find anywhere else. So we took a vote and everyone decided we didn't want it. Any other quick ones? We've got like 4 minutes until my 10 minutes is up. 3
So
minutes.
we're going to have a more Q&A after we're done with all this, but we're going to do, like I said, weekly updates on things too, so we can ask many more questions in the next many weeks.
Oh, but they've got so many questions.
All
Alright, well, let's go on to pipeline.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep quick too. All right, so as you know, we've been working on new pipeline for about a year, and it's not done yet by any stretch of the imagination, but we've put a lot of things in place, you should know that it probably all started with Monster Hunt and then Wish Dragon, but now we have about another 6 shows that have started on new pipeline. And the thing is, we feel like, in a way, we're not ready, and in some other ways we are ready, but we kind of need to, as we're progressing through the shows, sort of test everything and figure out what it is that each show wants to do, make sure that each department knows how to use it, and so on. So there's going to be a process of slowly feeling your way through the new pipeline, understanding the concepts and communicating to us what it is that you need the pipeline to do for you. The thing is, the infrastructure is quite flexible, mostly flexible anyway, and we sort of need your feedback so that we know what it is you need it to do for you, especially when it comes to naming conventions and how you want things to be named and presented. We want your feedback on that. One of the main differences between old pipeline and new is the way that we track information. We track a whole lot more information in the new pipeline, hopefully without it getting in your way too much. But we have a completely separate database where we track things that you've published and the dependencies between things that have been published. So we know that this downstream element was made using these 3 upstream elements, and when one of those is updated, a new version is published, then we can notify you that this thing needs to be updated, and so on. There are also some fairly big gaps that I think we really need to fill, and this is, again, what the coming weeks are all about. We need to work on your processes. We need to sort of set departmental policies. We need to make sure that each department's output is understood by the downstream departments and vice versa. And this is something that really Brad is going to help a lot on, so I'm very grateful that he's here. So the things that don't really suit your workflow, we want you to tell us about. We will hopefully fix those. Some things maybe will just take some getting used to. I think a lot of the problems that we have are because of things just being new. And I think once there's enough institutional knowledge or habit of doing things this way, it will be a lot easier. But initially, it might seem very strange. So just bear with us. I think I just want to talk about communication. For us, for pipeline, communication is very important. We use mainly email. You might have seen a lot of emails. I personally don't use the chat, Spark, Pigeon, any of those things. So if you want to contact me, please send me an email. We also use Jira. So as you've seen, there's the Jira page for if you have any issues, please, as Eddie has shown you, you can just create a ticket and we'll get to it as soon as we can. And we use wiki page quite a bit. So there's a pipeline wiki page. Could you switch to the wiki page, please? Second tab. And it's got some information, and we'll be filling this out. Sorry, that's it. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is our preference in pipeline would have been to completely lock down all the tools so that you couldn't publish anything until we've had a chance to talk to you. Unfortunately, actually, we don't have that ability to do that, but some things we have locked. So just so you know, as your projects are kicking off, if you're finding that there doesn't seem to be a way to publish, you bring up the publish tool and you can't do it, then please come and talk to us, because we might have intentionally disabled it because we want you to talk to us, right? So, and that is really because we want to talk to you, talk to the supervisor, make sure that you're on message. Everybody's doing things the way that is needed for the show to run smoothly. Okay, so that's all.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
It sounds like if somebody has a problem with the pipeline or that they can't get a file to render something, they should automatically enter a JIRA comments that tracks sort of the issue, so you guys can sort of see the population of problems happening in mass. Does that make sense? Versus just coming to talk to you directly, put a record down immediately. Get used to using the JIRA system as a record keeper of you know, this starts to propagate more of the issues forward.
I mean, I would say the only sort of exception to that would be, oh, the shotgun web page doesn't seem to be working. That's not the sort of thing you would put in a JIRA. That would be, or you know, something that worked, something just doesn't seem to be working that normally should be working.
Yeah.
As opposed to, there's a procedural problem.
Sure.
Right. So sometimes it's just, hey, do you know this thing's broken? That come and talk to us about it. But yes, otherwise yes, please put it in JIRA.
Yeah, same thing for the shotgun. If you find that something's not working right, come and ask me, because it might just be that you're not looking in the right place. But as I said before, if you want any changes to be made to shotgun, we won't even consider them unless you make a ticket for it, because that way we can keep our notes.
I think the key idea of the new pipeline is communication, really. It's a lockdown process in order for us to kind of rebuild without throwing out everything that we already have. It's just kind of lessening the confusion by making us talk to each other and to get things flowing so everybody knows the processes. One of the problems that we've come across, as you guys mentioned, is every show is different. Well, every show can be different to a certain degree, but it doesn't have to be completely different. At this point, some of them are completely different, that you go from show to show and it's like starting a new company. So we want to get a more consistent basis between shows, because we want to be able to help between shows, but also go into a new show and understand all the processes for it. Coming from publishing, from loading assets to publishing shots, loading shots, there should all be some consistency throughout the whole thing. So, you have any?
No, I'm done.
That said, there's, coming back to some added things that we're going into the future, we're going to be adding, well, right now we have a basic starting point for all the shows, the same layout for the home page. If you select BRI, the left side. So this is kind of the format that we'll be using for all the shows. You'll see a quick reference along the top to see what the show specs are, so you can get a quick idea. Those are still in other places in the database. You can see like quick information about the show, but also more entailed information. Do the spec page right there. So this lists all the information, and some of it can be coming from a vendor, and some of it ours internally. This will stay consistent. It will change from show to show, but the visual on how it's presented will stay consistent from show to show. She'll know exactly where to get information from the show. So you go back. You'll see it broken down between departments and needs. This is linked to the PLE page. I'll link to the JIRA for the PLE page. I'll be doing the same for Shotgun on there. So this can kind of be a central place for production, but also for the company for each show. That's Wiki or Confluence. If you hear those two names, it's the same thing, Wiki or Confluence. So one big thing that we're going to be changing in the future, or adding, is we're going to be working with more with RenderMan. So a couple of shows that we're looking into using RenderMan is TWE with Bob, and MRL with Viren, and with BRI with me. So those are in R&D right now, and we're keeping track of some of the R&D through here. And you'll see, you can track a little bit of that information, what needs to be done, and also, as you see, help reference pages to the right. It goes on from there. This will keep growing as we move along. Some other things that we'll be moving on in the new pipeline is a new dailies process. As you know, each production has kind of a completely different dailies process, it seems. So we want to make something that's easy and consistent from goes from show to show, so we can look at movie files as well as look at high-res files and go back and forth between those and see live data, live shots coming in while we're in dailies. So it makes it more of a live update while you're working with the production and the dailies process. So that still has to be fleshed out more, working with the VFX teams and everybody involved in the process. On a facility basis, we're adding another screening room for us. So this room will be, the final screening room will be over in C1. Are they C1, is that right? The front office, that should be done in the next few weeks, hopefully. And so it'll take the place of the final color and final high def look of the shots will be final in there. So that's an in progress thing as well. Some other things, like there's a new ingestion. When we get information from clients and we get information from scans and plates that come in, we really haven't tracked those the best way possible in the past. So we're going to be tracking plates, we're going to be tracking color correction per shot, we're going to be tracking HDRs that come in, there'll be a publishing process for that. We'll be tracking location scans, LiDAR scans a little bit better than we have in the past. Things like that you'll see within the tools that we'll be giving you, showing you in the next few weeks working with Ramin and that. There will be more detailed as we go into the next few weeks. So as Ramin mentioned, we're going through all departments, and if you've seen, Ramin and I have been like visiting different departments to see all your processes, so we can make sure we know what everybody's doing. So as we use the new pipeline, all the tools give you most of the flexibility that you already have, but fit into a controlled environment that we want to stay consistent from show to show. So we want to give it all the versatility, but also lock down to a certain degree. And again, we'll show you those changes in the next few weeks. Let's see what else. Actually, and that's it for this.
Okay, so we've got a lot of time now, so anyone has questions, please ask. I will just say that next week we're going to have another one with maybe the same big group because we haven't really gone into very much detail. So we want to talk about two basic things. One is general shotgun things, and another one is about directory structure, because pretty much everyone needs to understand the directory structure. Okay, so anyway, if you have any questions.
So one thing I wanted to mention about Bureau and Shotgun is when you're looking at the tickets, so we don't create an explosion of tickets. Please look to see if there's something related to the questions you already have before you start adding tickets, because once we get over 300-400 tickets, it's really hard for us to make sure things are done, and we have to spend most of our time actually clearing out and linking tickets. So with your help, it'll help us get to the point faster if you make sure that you update tickets rather than adding a new one if the information is already
Peter, could you put Jira up for a second?
So
if you were, I don't know, if there was a question you had about Playblast, all you have to do is type in the search field. Top one. It's a bit higher. See, that's when I Playblast. Sorry. This one. Yeah, there. Just type a few keywords in there. Just treat it like Google. So if you put in Playblast there, you would see a whole bunch of. And when you're doing a search there, it's searching not just PLE, it's searching everything. So of course, Playblast is a PLE thing, so you're only seeing PLE things here. But it would have shown shotgun results as well if there were any shotgun related Playblast. This one. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay. So you can just search like that just to see if someone else is already dealing.
On the shotgun and the PLE, same scenario. And remember, they're separated. So try and separate your questions per type of department it is. PLE is going to be for tools, things that during the workday, if it's Maya related, Houdini related, comp related, if it's shotgun related, on how tracking, assigning tasks, things like that. And again, these are your two guys, first points of contact, as well as the Jira, and I'm here as well to ask about that. So, one other thing I wanted to mention also is what we want to do while we're going through the departments for both shotgun and for PLE tasks is find things that we're using in multiple ways that we want to narrow down. For example, play blast. I think we're using it 3 or 4 different ways with 3 or 4 different play blasts, but we're trying to narrow it down so everybody uses the same play blast, but has ability to do what they need to in their department. So we don't have to manage 4 or 5 different versions of something. Play blast is just one example. It goes into all different things that we're dealing with. So we're trying to narrow down and focus on what we need to focus on. Yeah. Open for questions at this point. So please promote communication, really good communication. Just ask us anything. Don't be shy. And please bring up whatever you have. And next week we'll be doing more.
I suppose I have a lot of questions that are specific to tools related to my department, because this doesn't seem the forum for that. Going through the tool system with someone in PLE who understands how it's built, so I can stop them and ask, it's telling me it's about to do something I don't think it should be doing. What is it really doing? Why is it doing it? And then how can we change what it's doing? So is there a forum for which I could do that, or I should just come and talk to you? I don't really understand what the process. I don't know that it's a problem. I don't know that I should Jira it. I don't know. I just gotta bother you, I guess. But when and how should we organize doing so?
Okay, so you're talking about a future tool or an existing
I'm
tool?
talking about existing tools for the new pipeline that we currently use,
yeah.
but they were entirely unexplained. And the directory structure, I still don't understand, and I don't know where to get more information about it. And it's probably doing exactly what you made it do, but I don't know. Who knows how that is happening exactly?
Okay, I think that's what these meetings are about. So, for instance, the directory structure thing we'll be talking about in the next meeting, hopefully next week or the week after.
But I mean, I really want to suggest we change that slightly. How open are we to talk about that in that meeting?
We're open to talking about it.
Okay.
That's what these meetings are for.
Okay.
And that's it might be a hard thing to change, mind you. But
I bet it is now.
yes, but yeah, but it's also good to talk about it so we can change it for future shows, right?
There is also documentation available.
There is.
Ramin's PLE wiki is much better than mine, but for PLE and Shotgun there's wikis. I'm actually going to mention, go to Shotgun again. Click on wiki. So I'm starting to add these tabs, which will link directly into the wiki for this view. So you're looking at tasks, you want to know how to use the tasks view, and I'm starting to add this information. So scroll down, keep going. So you see it's explaining about filters. This is all I've managed to do so far, but it's explaining how to use this page. So there's going to be useful information sort of sprinkled throughout Shotgun on the wiki. And then for PLE wiki, you can actually go click spaces. Space directory. PLE. So all the PLE stuff is all nicely laid out and translated and everything.
And all of these links are, if you go back one, Direct, go back one. Yeah, and all of these links are going to be links from the home pages as well. So even if you're on the home page, you can still get the PLE, you can still get the Shotgun. And on this note, you might see a little confusion here. It says Shotgun, but wiki underneath it. So this is a link from Shotgun into the wiki. So it's looking inside the wiki from Shotgun to this one.
Does that answer your question?
Partially, I think. So the directory structure, as I said, we will talk about next week. About the tool that exists already. You can come and talk to us if you have if you want a forum to talk about it, in a sense, and then I would say,
I guess I'm just asking for not to all amass on you at once with personal questions, but how would you like me to approach you with these questions? I think what I need to do is actually go through the tool and go all the way from start to finish, and along the way I'm going to stop and ask what it's doing now.
sure.
Because it doesn't seem to
Okay,
be
if-
exactly what I thought it would
Yeah.
Such tools.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I don't think everyone wants to see the demonstration of this tool, but
But they do it all.
right. But certainly, when we're talking to departments, we will try to demonstrate things. We do that. But I see what you're saying about explaining things. So I suppose the concepts are things that we need to talk
Yeah,
about.
and I think there's two from here tickets I'd like to enter, but I don't exactly know if I should or not.
Yes, you
even though
should.
I don't know about what the tools do mean and how to describe that to you.
Okay, all right. So if you want, we can have a conversation first, but then make it yours. So what I was going to say was, for specific requests, or I wish this was different in this way, I think Jira is perfect for that. You can even say, hey, I don't understand this in Jira. There's no problem with that. So we'll try to answer in there. But then, more likely,